Fabulous. So today's workshop I've called the hypnotist in your head. There's Sally now. Let's let her in. Wonderful. So yeah, so tonight I've called the hypnotist in your head. How expectations quietly shape experience. A nice light topic for the weather today. So I thought we'd explore something that it sits well within the center of hypnosis, but also is quietly operates throughout our everyday life. And that's expectation. As a hypnotist, you build expectation to the point that the unconscious mind will kind of expect it so much it'll make it happen. So I wonder what it'll be like when you no longer feel this. So you're dropping in there, you're dropping in the direct suggestion of you'll no longer feel this, but you're adding the expectation. And the moment you add that expectation to the action, the brain, the imagination has to explore the possibility. And in exploring the possibility, it then is learning how it can how make that change. Um, so yeah, expectation is quite a cool thing. What we expect to happen, what we expect other people to do, what we expect ourselves to be capable of, what we expect a situation to feel like before we've even entered into it. And perhaps most interestingly, the way those expectations begin affecting our experience before anything has actually happened. And most people imagine, not so much here, but most people imagine hypnosis still to this day as someone sitting in a chair whilst person's dangling a watch and speaking to them. And we know you can do that. You can do it that way. Um, but we're all giving ourselves suggestions throughout every single day. Sometimes deliberately, like, come on, I know I can get this done. That's a suggestion. Most of the time, though, we're kind of doing it without even noticing. I know today is going to be stressful. You hit so many people, and I'm like, I kind of hear it, and I'm just like, no, what are you doing to yourself? Oh, it's going to be one of those days. Might not be, but you've decided it is. You're expecting it to be, and guess what? The expectation's more likely to come about. I'll never get everything done. Well, there you go, because you're telling yourself that you're not going to get everything done. I'm terrible with names. Hands up to that one. Um, it is proven. It is proven, but I am terrible with names. But I do say that. I know I'll not sleep tonight. That's one at the moment. I'm hearing people going, "Oh, this heat. I know I'm not going to sleep tonight. Oh, this heat. I'm going to feel so relaxed. I'm going to get a good night's sleep tonight." You might as well put a different expectation in. This always happens to me. I can't relax. One of the interesting things about these statements is that they do not usually feel like suggestions. We kind of frame them as though they're facts. We do not hear ourselves say, well, here's one possible prediction about the future. I may not sleep so well. What we hear is, this is how it's going to be. Oh, that's it. Although the more of us that think England are going to lose, England are going to lose, maybe they will, and then that lot will shut up outside. Um, but the thing is, we tell ourselves this is how things are going to be, rather than kind of allowing for the fact that it's a prediction, it's one possibility. But then the mind begins preparing for the experience we're expecting. So it notices those particular things that feed into that experience. It overlooks the other things. I know I've mentioned in the past that experiment they did in America with 100 students. Half of them were, well, they were all asked to walk down a corridor. Half of them were people who thought nothing good ever happens to me. Well, again, that's one possibility. Um, and the others were people who thought life was great and, lucky things happened. And along the corridor, they placed a bundle of notes, just tucked it under the side of a table. And without fail, almost all of the students who thought nothing good ever happened to them failed to notice. the money on the floor. Almost all the students that um, thought good things did happen and that they were lucky noticed the money on the floor. Same corridor, same possibility of seeing it or not, but they'd set up the expectations beforehand. So the mind, for those who thought nothing good ever happened, will have clocked at some unconscious level, subconscious level, the money on the floor and gone, I can ignore that, nothing good happens to me. Whereas those people whose minds are like, um, oh yeah, good things happen to me, walk down there and their brain will spot that they'll have spotted that money way before they're conscious of it. And the brain's gone, oh, I'm a lucky person. Hey, look, there's some money. Let's grab it. Um, but the mind prepares for the experience it expects. It notices particular things, it overlooks other things, and the body begins responding. We imagine scenes. Um, I had it with some of the kids I was teaching, and all in all, they've been pretty good as far as the nerves around the concerts and things go. But there was one of the girls who was like, "Oh, I don't think I can do the performance. I don't think I could do the concert." And I said, it might be wrong, but I think you're creating this horror movie in your head about what the concert's going to be like. You're telling yourself how difficult and horrible it's going to feel. I said, we're all really very good at creating monsters in our minds. But what if you enjoyed it? And she went, and the moment her mind started exploring another possibility, she was grinning. She was like, oh yeah, what if I enjoy it? In fact, what if it's the best thing you've done all year? I guess there's only one way you're going to find that out now, isn't there? And just by adding in another expectation, by going, okay, it could be a horrible experience. You might struggle with it. You might never want to do it again, but that's not a fact. It's a possibility. It's an expectation. We manage our expectations, we can manage our experiences. So we rehearse conversations. We prepare emotionally for something which hasn't happened yet. And sometimes by the time we reach the situation itself, we already experience it 10 or 20 times inside our own minds. And remember, there's that part of our brain that doesn't know the difference between what we imagine and our actual reality. So by rehearsing it in your mind, your body will be releasing the chemicals you're associating with that situation. So if you think it's going to be stressful before you even get there, you're creating the stress feeling within yourself. Um, so tonight isn't going to be about pretending everything will be wonderful, because life is life, and sometimes we can have great expectations and something turns out blooming awful. Um, So it's not like a delusional thing, but it is just about exploring that awareness of how our expectations and managing our expectations can greatly enhance our experiences. Um, I know I'm not saying also that everything is created by our thoughts, although our experiences are how we experience is because we get the information and then we tell ourselves stuff about it. Um, but that's quite a simplified version. Life obviously is more complicated than that. Um, Expectation does influence our experience. And I thought we'd play around with it. It's a hot day. I've had very little sleep, so I thought, what can we do? And I thought, oh, this should be fun. So we're not going to just talk about things. We'll experiment with a few things, um, because any sort of hypnosis stuff, NLP stuff, also is it's always much more interesting when we kind of get an experience of something rather than just simply being told how things work. So we're going to go through two or three experiments. Experiments, oh, sounds like a scientist. Um, so let's go with experiment number one. We see what we expect to see. So what I invite you to do is have a look around the room you're sitting in right now. And for the next 15 or 20 seconds, I'd like you to notice everything you can see which contains the color blue. It doesn't have to be completely blue. It can be a small part of something that is blue, and that's enough. So just look carefully and notice as many things as possible that are blue or have a bit of blue on them. And I'll give you 20 seconds to do that. So keep looking, and there may be obvious things and perhaps small details that you'd not noticed before. Let's just keep looking a little longer. And now close your eyes. Keep your eyes firmly closed. And without looking again, how many red things were there? Can you remember where the red objects were? Maybe, perhaps you can remember some, a few. So now open your eyes and immediately start looking for red. Now, there may have been red things directly in front of you, but because you're expecting to find blue, your attention becomes organized around blue. Does not mean you become physically incapable of seeing red. The information's still there, but blue becomes important. Blue becomes relevant, and the mind gives more attention to what it's been asked to find. So some of you will tell me or put in a comment that you remembered everything that was read in the room. But that's okay. Even then, notice what happens when you open your eyes. Because the instruction changes, the intention changed with it. And perhaps expectation sometimes operates in a similar way. If I enter a room expecting people not to like me, what am I likely to notice? The person who doesn't make eye contact, the person who looks distracted, the joke nobody responded to. What might I overlook? The person who smiled, the person who made space for me, the person who was pleased I'd arrived. Expectation does not necessarily create everything we experience, but it really can influence which parts become more visible. So just wondering if there's a situation where maybe you've expected something to go badly, and then you find yourself noticing every piece of evidence that backs that up. If you can think of a time like that, just drop it in the comments or drop your mic on and just say, oh, yes, there was this time, and let me know about it. Cool. So moving on to experiment 2. This one's a little bit more physical. They are just experiments. I want you to rest both hands comfortably. Place them palm up, either on your knees or on the arm of a chair, or if you're lying down by the side of you. Keep the hands apart and simply notice how they feel now. Don't try to change anything. Just notice whether one already feels warmer than the other. And perhaps there's no noticeable difference. So just observe. And maybe just give each hand a temperature score from 0 to 10. So if the palms and that are feeling cold, that can be a 0. If they're feeling really, really hot, that can be a 10. Nothing too scientific. It's literally just a 0 to 10. Simply just your own experience. And now just allow your eyes to close and bring your attention towards your left hand. And just imagine that the left hand is resting somewhere comfortably warm, perhaps near an open fire, not close enough to be uncomfortable, simply feeling the warmth from those flames. Just think what that would be like. You may imagine the color of the fire, the gentle movement of the flames, or perhaps the sound of the burning wood, gentle smell of wood smoke. And as you're thinking about that hand resting by that warm fire, imagine the more warmth moving across the palm into the fingers. Perhaps the skin becoming slightly warmer, perhaps a gentle glow. And there's nothing you have to make happen. Simply imagine. That's right. And now bring your attention towards the right hand. Imagine the right hand is resting beside a cool stream. Maybe the fingers are close to the surface of the clear, moving water. Just imagine a cool breeze moving across the palm. Fresh, light. Perhaps the air moves between the fingers. And you may imagine the pleasant coolness of the stream. And now become aware of both hands together. The left hand near the warmth, and the right hand beside the cool water. And simply notice. No need to force any difference, no need to pretend. Just observe what the mind and body do with the suggestions. And now just allow those images to disappear. Become aware of the room. Open your eyes. And just compare the hands. Did you notice a difference in how they felt? A warmth, a coolness, a tingling, a change in the circulation? Or perhaps no obvious difference at all. Just allow the responses. The interesting thing is not whether everyone experiences the same result. People respond differently. Some people create really vivid images and respond more strongly to words. Some notice physical changes quickly and some do not. But obviously there's no physical fire, no actual stream. But the words again can set up an expectation. And if we set up the expectation, the imagination can create an experience. And for some people, the body responds to that imagined experience, and that's not unusual. I know we've done before that thing where we think about a lemon, taking a lemon, sniffing it, getting a knife, cutting into it, taking a slither of that lemon, bringing it up to the lips, and then just imagine just taking a bite of that lemon. I know we've done that before. Sometimes we can remember an embarrassing moment and suddenly feel uncomfortable all over again just because we're imagining it. Thinking about a future event and noticing our stomach tighten. So if we know we've got to go and speak in front of people or do something in front of people and we get nervous about it, we imagine it and we imagine that our stomach's going to be all churned up. And guess what? It is. And the body often responds to what the mind imagines, not only to what is physically happening there. So for this next experiment, experiment number 3, I think I need to get me timer for this one if I remember right. Almost organized. So yeah, we're going to explore time. I'm going to give you 2 short periods of silence. They will both be exactly the same length. During the first period, simply wait and just keep wondering, how long has it been? Is the time nearly finished? And just keep asking yourself those questions and really monitor the passing of time. So close your eyes. Those 2 questions, how long has it been? Is the time nearly finished? Just keep asking them. Keep monitoring that time and begin now. And just open the eyes without overthinking it. First response, did that feel long or short? Just drop it in the comments. Short. When we were used to do meditations where I have like 15 minutes of silence, so short. Fabulous. Okay, so just remember that impression. Just remember how it felt. And we'll get ready to start the second time. So close your eyes again. And this time, with your eyes closed, I want you to think about, imagine walking somewhere you enjoy. It might be a woodland, a beach, a familiar country lane, a garden, somewhere you've visited, or somewhere that you just completely uh, make up with your imagination. But as you're thinking about it, I want you to become really interested in what you can see. So think about when you're doing that walk, the colors, the shape of the landscape, the feeling of moving, and begin that now. That's right. Just allow the image and those thoughts to fade. Open your eyes. And when you think about it now, which of those two time periods felt longer or seemed longer? Was it the first or the second? Just drop it in the comments so we can see how that was. First, first. So both Sally say the first felt longer. Cool. Both times were 45 seconds. And for some of you may have found that the first one seemed longer because you were actually monitoring every passing moment. It's like kids in the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Some of you may have become absorbed in the imagined walk and found that the second passed quickly. Some of you may have experienced it the opposite way around. Again, there's no result that everybody produces the same. But what is interesting is through two different activities with the mind, even though it was the same length of time, the experience of that time changes. If we're waiting for something unpleasant, 5 minutes can feel remarkably long. And we've all had that experience. We become absorbed in something enjoyable, a hobby, a pastime. watching an orchestra. It certainly felt last night like it was over before it had begun. It was such a great experience, but it seemed to fly by. Expectation again changes the way that we enter the experience. A person waiting for something to end experiences time differently from the person expecting to become absorbed in that moment and in that time. And so far we've kind of gone through those three little exercises and just played with attention, physical sensation, and time. And in each experiment, the instruction creates an expectation. Look for blue. Imagine warmth. If I'm asking you to imagine warmth, the likelihood is you'll start noticing the bits of you that feel warm. Wait for the time to finish. Become absorbed in an imagined journey. The words direct attention, and attention influences our experience. And perhaps much of everyday self-hypnosis follows a similar pattern. Just imagine somebody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh God, today's going to be awful." That sentence may immediately start to create those pictures of that truly awful day. Perhaps they imagine the difficult meeting, the terrible traffic, the work waiting for them, the person they do not want to deal with. The body responds to those images. The breathing changes, the muscles tighten, the emotional state changes, and they enter the day already looking for the evidence on how they've decided that day's going to be. The traffic is slow. There you go. Knew it. Because the mind's locked out the bit of the journey that was fast. It's just going to let you be aware of that part that was slow. Somebody sends an irritating email. Knew that happened today. I knew it was going to be like this. Ignoring the three or four other emails that actually are saying well done or carrying some good news. And perhaps several perfectly ordinary or even pleasant things also happen. But because we've already decided, anticipated the terrible day, our unconscious mind gives them less attention. And our expectation becomes a filter. With every piece of evidence makes the prediction feel more true. And in any one day, there will be things that are good and things that are bad. But if we've woken up going, "Oh, today's just going to be terrible," you can pretty well guarantee by the end of that day, unless something pretty spectacular has happened, we'll be sitting down with a brew going, "I knew it was going to be an awful day." And it doesn't just happen once. The expectation becomes stronger the next time because weirdly, you've given yourself the evidence. Like me saying about how I really am no good with names and the evidence is there. No, it's not. I'm just remembering all the people whose names I forgot. Not remembering all the times that I've remembered names without any effort. So each time the expectation gets stronger. Does not mean the difficult things are imagined because life has challenges. The traffic may genuinely be terrible some days, and the emails may be generally irritating, but expectation helps organize the experience of that day. And it's often a loop. We predict something, a bad day. We can also predict good days. We imagine it. So we predict, we imagine, the body responds. So our breathing might shift and change as though we're already dealing with things. Can happen if you've got to do something where you're a bit nervous and you notice yourself thinking about it, and then you notice your breathing shifted to a more kind of shallow, nervous kind of breathing. So we predict, we imagine, the body responds, attention becomes selective. The reticular activating system, which for many months I told myself I couldn't say easily, And my expectation was to not say it easily. Um, it focuses in on what we're telling it to focus in on, and it finds those things that back up what we're expecting our reality to be. So our attention becomes selective. We interpret events through the prediction. I knew it was going to be like this. Proves it, proves nothing good happens to me. And then we use that experience, just like I demoed, as evidence that the prediction was right. It is an extremely effective, extraordinarily effective form of self-hypnosis. Unfortunately, the hypnotist in our head often has terrible bedside manners. It speaks with certainty. Oh, you always do this. That always happens. Always? Wonderful question. This always happens to me. Or always? Did it happen yesterday? Well, no, no. Okay. What about day? No, no, not the day before. Did it happen at all this week? Mm, actually, no, it hasn't. So when you say it always happens, at best, that's 1 in 7 days. Uh, so you see, we deliver with certainty. Oh, I never get things right. You never get things right. You can't cope. I can't cope. This will be a disaster. And notice the language. Always, never, cannot, will. There is very little possibility left in those sentences because they're not questions, they're commands, predictions stated as facts. And because they sound familiar, we often stop questioning them. So I didn't think about this. If you've got a pen and paper beside you, then you may want to use it. But if not, just simply just have a think about this. That's fine. I'm going to ask you to, or you could always jot it in the jot it in the chat, in fact. I'm going to ask you to complete one of these same sentences. I always, that's a little bit like blankety blank. I always blank. I never. I cannot. This is going to. So pick one of those and just finish that sentence off. If you want to share it in the chat, feel free. You may choose something just fairly ordinary. So I'm not trying to open up deep or painful things. It's just a Wednesday evening. Um, so it might be, I always get nervous before meetings. I never sleep properly before an important day. I cannot remember names. This week's going to be exhausting. I always lose motivation. Just have a think about it. And whichever one you've chosen out of those, I always, I never, I cannot, this is going to, just look at that sentence. Ask yourself, always manage to spill coffee when I drink it. So ask yourself, is this a fact? Is it actually a fact? Can I hand on heart, using Sally's coffee sentence, can I hand on heart say that every single time in my life that I've ever drunk coffee, I've spilt it? Or is it a prediction? Do I go, oh, I always spill my coffee? Am I predicting something that isn't actually necessarily a fact? It's a possibility. It's not 100% a fact. It might be based upon a genuine past experience, but does the past guarantee the next occasion? Take your sentence and just notice what happens when you say the sentence internally. What do you see? What do you hear? What happens within your body? Is there a certain tone of voice that you're using when you say it? And so now think about that sentence and notice what the sentence is asking you to expect. So for Sally's, it's asking her to expect that the next time she drinks some coffee, she will spill it down her. So what is your attention then going to focus on? If I think that every time I drink a coffee, I'm going to spill it, my attention is going to look for those moments when my hand's a little shaky, where, maybe I take too big a sip and it splashes up against the side of my mouth a bit and there's a possibility it might spill. And what will count as evidence? What will prove that? It could be even that you pick up a cup and it slips, but you don't spill it, but you almost did, and that's close enough. That's evidence. Look, yeah, whoa, if I acted then, I'd have spilled that. Always spill coffee. What might become less visible? For a start, again, using the coffee analogy, every time you've drunk coffee and not spilt it. Or it might be that that place which is really safe and stable to put your coffee down becomes less visible. So you perch it somewhere instead because your brain's going, pay attention. I need to find something that's going to spill my coffee. So what we're going to do, whatever your sentence is, we're not going to replace it with something kind of fantastical and unbelievable. If someone says, I'm terrified of public speaking, replacing it with, I am the world's most confident public speaker, will probably produce another inner voice saying, no, you're not. Uh, the unconscious mind is not always impressed by motivational posters. Instead, we can just loosen the certainty. For example, I never sleep before anything important. May become, I have sometimes found sleep difficult before important days, but I don't know what tonight will be. I have in the past spilt coffee, but I don't know if I'm going to do that today. It's not a forced optimism. It's not I'm becoming a superhero now. It's just grounding the experience and the anticipation in reality. So I always become anxious in meetings, I've often felt anxious in meetings. I'm beginning to notice that some moments are easier than others. I cannot relax might become, I've not found it easy to relax on demand, although sometimes the body settles when I stop checking in. This week is going to be exhausting. Might become, this week may be busy and I don't know yet where the easier moments will appear. Just take your original sentence, rework it, rewrite it, keep it believable, keep the truth of your experience. Because until the moment happens, you don't know what that moment will hold. And remove unnecessary certainty. Useful beginnings might be up until now, in the past, that's a good way of phrasing it. Sometimes, I used to, I do not yet know. It is possible that. I wonder whether. So just rework your sentence. That's it. I may not spill coffee next time. Brilliant. Just rephrasing the expectation. I wonder if I will not spill my coffee this next time. So once you've done that, quietly say your original sentence to yourself inside your mind. Notice whatever image, voice, how your body responds. And now say the new version and notice whatever that is that changes. Might be a subtle difference. Maybe the body softens. Maybe that future image becomes less fixed. Perhaps nothing obvious happens yet. Simply observe. And the purpose is not to create a better slogan. It's to stop confusing prediction with certainty. Do not have to know that everything will go well. Sometimes it's enough to admit, I do not know yet. Because uncertainty is not always frightening. Sometimes uncertainty is where possibility lives. And so, just as we're finishing, perhaps just notice what you expect the rest of the evening to be like. Don't have to change that expectation, just simply notice it. Is it a fact or is it a prediction? And perhaps leave yourself with just one question. What might happen if I allow this experience to be new? What might happen if I allow this experience to be new? So what Sally put there, may not spill covenant, it doesn't feel true now. The new version sounds true. That's really good. Really, really good. And it's a simple process. Just to allow, part of the thing with meditation is allowing ourselves to be aware, to be focused, and then to, directing that awareness to our lives. So where are we making expectations that actually hold us back? Stop us from enjoying things, stop us from actually doing things that we'd like to do. And the amount of people, when I talk to them about the music sessions on a Thursday evening, will say something like, "Oh, I'd like to come along, but I'm no good at that." Is that a fact? Because you've never been before, so you don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's simple playing, but sometimes the questions we ask ourselves and the way we reframe our expectations really make a big, big difference. So